It has been a while since my last video, however, it's time to put Dawntrail under a magnifying glass. So spoilers ahead for those who haven't played it yet, and let's get right into it. We have a lot to talk about. To immediately address the elephant in the room, the reception of Dawntrail has been rather mixed, to say the least. But in this video I don't want to be a negative Nancy all the way. So first off, let's start with something positive, which is the graphics update of the game. You can immediately tell that there has been a lot of work into the whole update. The zones in Dawntrail are truly complementary of this update. You can see through the lightning, through the vegetation in a zone, or even the shadows. It all looks very, very sharp. It even complements older cutscenes, which I recommend on doing so to see what the actual change has been. It's really nice. It has laid down the groundwork for the future of this game. A future that is now in jeopardy, if you need to believe the internet, of course. We of course don't immediately brush off those opinions because there rings some truth to it. The game is not in the best spot right now. We know that the MSQ had a very mixed reception, but I'm not going to dive deeper into that one. You either hate it or love it, and at this point it is better to focus on the future, and I must say the patch content MSQ does rather spark the interest back. Now it's all waiting for 7.3 to see what the final conclusion will be of this expansion. And I know this is rather a neutral opinion of mine, however the MSQ for me is something you play once, you enjoy it, and then the actual game begins. An actual game where I find the content as of late rather lacking, to say the least. Now don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of stuff to do in the game, however the question I'm asking myself is, do I want to do it? They have brought up a lot of instance content, which is great. However, it's just sad to see that the zones that they have created, these beautiful zones, that they are kind of barren. And I just wish to see more in the overworld in that regards. Of course, you see people farming phage occasionally, or a hunt train pops up, or even see a gatherer here and there. Those, however, are assigned to a certain spot, which leaves the rest of the zone rather empty. Which, in my opinion, is quite a shame. There can be done so much more to make the overworld a bit more interesting. And in doing so, it makes the world more lively, and if people are questing through it, it makes it more interesting for them as well to see a game being populated. Instead of, well, what I am doing right now is AFKing next to the FC house. It would also have been nice to see the overworld more expanded on than just the expansion itself. Like, you have such a vast world. Do something with it. This is of course not solely an FF problem, but most MMOs go this way, focusing solely on the expansion and let the rest catch dust. Which brings me to the instance areas of Dawntrail, the Occult Crescent and the Cosmic Exploration. At first glance I thought, oh great, something to do. However, and this is again personal taste, after playing it through a bit, having completed some relics, it feels to me like glorified leaf questing or fate farming, which is also of course a player problem. Giving enough time, a player will min-max the fun out of a game. But to me, it feels like I'm yearning for some more innovation when it comes to the game. Something entirely new. This is also of course a fault in the gaming industry itself. Why differentiate from a working formula if you can just copy-paste? So to pin this all on FF, that's not kinda fair in my opinion. However, doing the same things over and over again makes you kinda burn out on the game. And that is something I'm well aware about. These days it's just raid logging for the static, playing with friends, doing the raid bosses, and that's it. And don't get me wrong though, for new players it's an excellent time to start right now. The base game, all the expansions to play through, it will give hundreds and hours of gameplay before you are catch up with the rest of us, who are at this point just playing a waiting game. It is very hard to keep the retention up from those veteran players. There are some really good games out there these days, so it's really hard to keep that retention up all the time. Which in my opinion you can also see with FF by focusing on the newer players a lot. We have the trust system, which made the game a lot more single player minded. The developers are aware of this and they stated that they are focusing more on the multiplayer aspects now, but I personally think it's a little bit too late. Because those that have left the game aren't coming back so easily. But who knows what the future might bring. I have promised to not be a negative Nancy all the time, so let's focus now on something that I love in this game. Something that keeps me going up until this date. The raiding scene of Final Fantasy XIV. At this point in time, I can say that my subscription is still going just because of the raids. And the raids in Dawntrail are so far very enjoyable to do. I must confess, however, I am not a party finder guy, and that is thanks to past MMO experiences. And I'm very lucky to have found a group back in Endwalker that I can still call my static up to this day. And we're just raiding on a casual basis, because let's be real, the hardest final boss will be scheduling. But even if real life gets in the way, the FF raids are very accessible for everyone. So we might not be the fastest, but when we clear, we clear. The very first tier of Dawntrail was a very fun one. You had very memorable bosses, the mechanics were fun, and it wasn't too hard. We cleared this raid tier rather fast this time around. I remember the final raid wing of Pandemonium. The struggle we had there, oh, that was something else. Now, of course, nothing is without flaws, and the raiding scene in Final Fantasy is no different. And the biggest pet peeve that I have, it is definitely the tombstone cap. Why must there be artificial time gating? Just get rid of it and get more means to get those tombstones as well. I'm not bothered with the whole grind, but doing an expert roulette every day with the same 1 or 2 dungeons, it's kinda annoying. I know there are less efficient ways to get those tombstones, but doing it every raid tier made it more like a chore than actual fun to farm. On a whole different note, when reaching the last boss of a raid tier, you can count on the developers to make a true spectacle out of it. The music in this game still is unmatched until this very day. You can leave it to Soken to make another masterpiece. This was also the very first time that our team didn't have a door boss in a raid, and in my opinion, I hope they do that more. Nothing is more frustrating than beating down the door boss, and then you only have a few pulls left on your timer before it runs out and you need to start all over again. At least that's the experience that we got. Now, I'd rather have one big fight with the transition. And in this tier, it has been done beautifully. With the transitioning of the boss and the music as well. It truly gave that locked-in vibe with us. This, however, wasn't the highlight of our raid tier. After we have done the raid bosses, it was finally time to go back to T, the Epic of Alexander. Ultimates are truly something different. The challenge of the whole gauntlet you have been thrown into, and having a near-perfect execution for 20 minutes straight, yeah, that's the stuff that I love. I don't care about mounts, titles or glamour, I just want a good fight. And T has provided us just that. As of right now, it's one of the favorite ultimates I've been into. But let's be fair, we only cleared 3, so let's see what the rest will give us in the future. Yet one thing has been very clear to me now with FF14. The ultimates are a pinnacle of this game. And I truly recommend it to everyone to just dip their toes into it. The shakies that you get when the boss is about to die at the end, now those are the things that makes everything truly priceless. And after have done a couple of reclares in T, we are now progging in DSR. I guess somewhere Xenos was right about us in the end, always going for the bigger challenge, just to fill the void. Now of course at the moment of recording this, we are already way deep into tier 2 of this expansion. And again, the raid fights are very fun and very unique. However, there's something different right now. And that is of course the complaints you see going around the internet right now. About having no fun in the game, having no content, which is of course fault because there's content enough, but is there content you want to play? That's the real question. You see the Final Fantasy fatigue kicking in, also in our group. We are not immune to it. Where once everyone did their tombstone dailies, they are now procrastinating on it, myself included. Because why do chores in a game when there's so much other fun stuff to do in another game? Then you have of course the tendency, people not prioritizing raiding that much anymore. So raiding becomes less and less, especially for a casual group as us. And now we have finally some people in the group that just quit raiding with the static entirely. For very good reasons. I don't have fun anymore in the game, so I'd rather do something else. And I can totally agree with that. Now raiding is the only thing that keeps my sub going on this game. On a more positive note, however, I can proudly state that it took the developers to take down our static. Well, at least the original static. We are just finding new people right now. But after 3 years of raiding with the same group, I'd say we did a pretty good job. It's rather sad that it ends over the state of a game than anything else. And yes, in the last live letter, Yoshi P stated that they are fully aware of the state of the game and how people are feeling, and that they are going to work on it. My real question is, when? Because we surely can't wait for another expansion for them to fix stuff. So I'm really curious to see what they have up their sleeves. But as for now, they really need to up their game. So yeah, the game is at a weird position right now. Now some may cry that the sky is falling down or that it's done. Yet, having played other MMOs, I would say first time. For new players, it's like a golden age, like going to the whole Heidelin Zodiac arc in one go, having so much content to do. As for the veteran players, they are in quite a pickle. Which leaves the question about what am I going to do? And I am going to heed Yoshi P's call, going to play different games, which means I'm also going to change up YouTube a bit, but that is something for the future. For a good start, I want to do all the Final Fantasy games, just to get the references in the MSQ and such. And I know there are a lot of them, so we're going through them all. Just having good fun and talk about it, see how the stories are in different games. So I'm open for any suggestion on which one I should start with, and we'll just go from there. As for Final Fantasy itself, I just keep raiding, like I always did. I love it, and I keep on doing it. And I'm going to stream our prog and the stories I'm about to play on Twitch, YouTube, and possibly Kick. So you can say that we are back in action. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all very, very soon.